I'm really interested in hearing on what's the word on the street in Canberra, particularly on the Labor side, in terms of where they see a need for change. Why are they not just saying, oh look, this is ridiculous, this is the most ridiculous thing we've ever heard? What is driving them? What do they want to actually see change about the system?
Sure. Well, that's a pretty broad question, just in terms of.
I thought we'd start with an easy one.
Yeah, we'll start with an easy one. But look, it's a really broad question. So let me just put it into a couple of compartments to make it digestible. But on the broader change question, I think there is an acceptance that there needs to be some change and some improvement, and it's simply for the reason that the system is now, roughly 25 years old. It is proven to be really good, but needs improvement. And as I said earlier, I wouldn't expect that in 25 years' time it looks exactly the same way as it does today. So that's my starting point. I think there are a number of issues where things in superannuation have become very politicised. That's an obvious statement, but it's a truism.
Yep.
And that's going to vary between government to government as governments come and go and change over time.
Yep.
But right down the middle, somewhere in between all of those things, I think the reason we're having such significant debates, and there's reports and reviews, and Labor, when it was in power, had the Cooper Review, and so it's because I think everybody acknowledges, and certainly people I speak to on the Labor side acknowledge that while we've got a great system, it has got some deficiencies, the low-hanging fruit. So, for example, multiple accounts are a problem, particularly if you're young and or have a low account balance, where you might be paying multiple sets of fees, and if you're unlucky enough that you're not in a top returning fund, you're going backwards effectively, and it has a massive impact on your retirement outcome. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that all of us, and I would expect that those listening in as well, I've got in my mind a best interest scenario, always looking at the individual person that's actually got the funds, it's their money, mm-hmm. and where they're all there to serve them. So I think there are some important principles in play here. So while it is politicised and we may not all solve it, in this term of government or even in the next, I think there needs to be some progressive movement forward, and we've got a range of inquiries, reviews, Productivity Commission and others. Hayne will point to some things, have some findings and make some recommendations. We've still got Jeremy Cooper's review and a range of other things in place, let alone going to the advice space, insurance space, group insurance, how all that works, and the debates to be had there. So the word on the street, if you want to put it in those terms, or certainly the feeling I get, is that change is coming, and everyone should expect that. So then what does that change look like? So if we, again, unpack some of that and look at, in the advice space and the way advice is provided, I think it's great opportunities and also a really big change coming. Potentially super funds in the future will be a really different beast to what they are today and be much more involved. So, look, definitely there is a mood and an appetite for change, but it needs to be depoliticised. Yep. And there's going to be some really strong battles take place, and big battles with some strong lines delineating both sides. So, for example, on the governance side, Labor's made it very clear that it's not in support of the proposed changes by the government on independent directors.
Yes.
Because there's a general view that the current system, in terms of the way the trustee board system works, has a good outcome. But what Labor does acknowledge, though, is that there probably needs to be a lifting of standards and skills and a range of things. Trustees need to be able to do a good job, and I've spoken publicly about this, and I think that's the same thing.
Yeah, I quite agree. In fact, one of the things that's been annoying me reading the